Living alone in our golden years is a journey unlike any other. It's a path that leads us to rediscover ourselves, to face our fears, and to embrace possibilities we never knew existed. It's a time when the mirror reflects not just our wrinkles, but the wisdom etched in every line. As we age, society often tells us what we should do, how we should act. But what happens when we close the door on expectations and open the window to our own desires? What blossoms in the garden of solitude? Today, we'll explore 10 things that living alone makes us do in old age. These aren't just actions, but transformations. They're the quiet revolutions that happen when we're the only ones witnessing our lives. So, settle in, open your mind, and let's embark on this journey of self-discovery together. 1. Rediscovering ourselves. Living alone gives us the chance to rediscover who we really are. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, but less teary. When my wife passed away, I felt lost. Who was I without her? But slowly, I started remembering the things I used to love. Model trains, for instance. I hadn't touched them in years. Now, my spare room looks like a miniature railway station. It's not always easy. Some days, the silence can be deafening. But that silence, it's also an opportunity to listen to ourselves, to remember our passions, to rediscover the person we were before life got in the way. My advice? Embrace this time. Use it to explore your interests. Always wanted to learn French? Go for it. Fancy trying your hand at watercolors? Why not? This is your time to be selfish, in the best possible way. 2. Creating new routines. When you're living alone, routines become your best friend. They give structure to your days and purpose to your mornings. I used to be a night owl. Now, I'm up with the sun. I start my day with a cup of coffee on the porch, watching the neighborhood wake up. It's my quiet time, my thinking time. But here's the thing. Your routine doesn't have to be set in stone. Some days, I switch it up. Maybe I'll have breakfast for dinner, or stay up late watching old movies. The beauty of living alone? You make the rules. My tip? Create routines that make you happy. If you enjoy a morning walk, make it a daily habit. Love reading? Set aside time each day for a good book. Your routine should be a comfort, not a chore. 3. Becoming self-reliant. Living alone pushes us to become more self-reliant. It's not always easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. When my wife was alive, she handled the cooking. Me? I could barely boil an egg. But necessity is a great teacher. I started with simple recipes. Now I make a mean lasagna. It might not win any awards, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. It's not just about cooking, though. I've learned to fix leaky faucets, change light bulbs, even do basic car maintenance. Each new skill I learn makes me feel more capable, more independent. My advice? Start small. Learn one new skill at a time. YouTube is a great teacher. And don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Self-reliance doesn't mean doing everything alone. 4. Exploring new interests. Living alone gives us the freedom to explore new interests without judgment. It's like being a kid in a candy store. But the candy is hobbies, and there's no one telling you you'll spoil your dinner. I've always been interested in photography, but never had the time to really dive in. Now, I'm the unofficial neighborhood photographer. I've captured everything from sunsets to little Jimmy's first steps next door. But it's not just about picking up new hobbies. It's about rediscovering old passions, too. I used to love writing poetry in college. I'd forgotten all about it until I found an old notebook. Now, I write a poem every day. They're not all good, mind you, but they're mine. My tip: don't be afraid to try new things. Join a club, take a class, or just watch some online tutorials. You might surprise yourself with what you enjoy. 5. Building deeper connections. Living alone doesn't mean being lonely. In fact, it can lead to deeper, more meaningful connections. When you're not rushing home to cook dinner or do laundry, you have more time for friends. I've rekindled old friendships and made new ones. Every Wednesday, I meet my buddy Joe for chess in the park. On Fridays, I have dinner with my daughter and her family. But it's not just about quantity of time. It's about quality. When I'm with people now, I'm really present. I listen more. I share more. I appreciate these connections more than ever. My advice: reach out to people. Don't wait for them to come to you. Invite a friend for coffee. Call your grandkids. Join a social club. Building connections takes effort, but it's worth it. 6. Embracing solitude. Living alone teaches us to embrace solitude. It's not always easy, but it can be incredibly rewarding. At first, the silence in my house was deafening. I'd turn on the TV just for background noise. But gradually, I learned to appreciate the quiet. Now I relish my alone time. I use it for reflection, for planning, for simply being. Don't get me wrong. There are still moments of loneliness. But I've learned to distinguish between being alone and feeling lonely. When loneliness creeps in, I have strategies. I call a friend, go for a walk, or lose myself in a good book. My tip: learn to enjoy your own company. Find activities you enjoy doing alone. For me, it's puzzles and gardening. And remember, it's okay to feel lonely sometimes. It's part of being human. 7. Creating our perfect space. Living alone gives us the freedom to create a space that's truly ours. It's like being the king or queen of your own castle. When my wife was alive, our home was a compromise of our styles. Now, it reflects me completely. My den is filled with my model trains. The living room showcases my photography. Even my garden is exactly how I want it. A bit wild and full of native plants. But it's not just about aesthetics. It's about functionality, too. I've rearranged furniture to make it easier to move around, installed grab bars in the bathroom, made my kitchen more accessible. My home now works for me, not against me. My advice: make your space work for you. Don't be afraid to change things up, and most importantly, surround yourself with things that make you happy. 8. Practicing mindfulness and gratitude. Living alone gives us the opportunity to be more mindful and grateful. It's like having a front row seat to the small miracles of everyday life. I've started practicing mindfulness. Nothing fancy, mind you. Just taking a few minutes each day to focus on my breath, to be present in the moment. It helps me stay grounded, helps me appreciate the here and now. And gratitude? It's become a daily practice. Each night before bed, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Some days, it's big things, like my health. Other days, it's as simple as a good cup of coffee or a chat with a neighbor. My tip: start small. Take a few minutes each day to be mindful, maybe during your morning coffee or before bed. And try keeping a gratitude journal. It can really shift your perspective. 9. Taking charge of our health. Living alone pushes us to take charge of our health. There's no one else to remind us to take our meds or nag us about doctor's appointments. I've become my own health advocate. I keep track of my medications, schedule regular checkups, and stay on top of any health issues. I've even started exercising regularly. Nothing too strenuous, mind you. Just daily walks and some light weights. But it's not just about physical health. Mental health is just as important. I make sure to keep my mind active with puzzles, reading, and learning new things. And when I'm feeling down, I've learned it's okay to reach out for help. My advice: take an active role in your health. Keep a health journal. Stay on top of your medications and appointments. And don't neglect your mental health. It's just as important as your physical well-being. 10. embracing culinary adventures living alone has turned me into quite the culinary adventurer. Who knew I had a hidden chef inside me all along? When you're cooking for one, you can experiment without worrying about pleasing anyone else's palate. I've tried recipes from around the world. Some have been disasters. Let's not talk about the great sushi incident of 2022. But others have become new favorites. Cooking for one doesn't mean you have to eat alone, though. I've started hosting small dinner parties for friends and neighbors. It's a great way to socialize and show off my new skills. My tip? Don't be afraid to experiment in the kitchen. Try new recipes. Play with flavors. And remember, even if a dish doesn't turn out perfect, it's all part of the adventure. Living alone in our golden years isn't just a circumstance. It's an opportunity to rewrite our stories, to color outside the lines we've drawn for ourselves over decades. It's a chance to turn the page and start a new chapter, one where we are both the author and the protagonist. Remember, the journey of living alone doesn't have to be a solitary one. We're all in this together, each of us writing our own stories, yet connected by the shared experience of aging. Reach out, stay connected, and above all, be kind to yourself. After all, we're not just getting older. We're getting bolder, wiser, and more authentically ourselves with each passing day. So here's to living alone, to new adventures, and to making these golden years truly our own. The best chapter of our lives isn't behind us. It's the one we're writing right now. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, comment 9 below. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next video.